Hello, my dear one. Come a little closer with me for a moment, not physically, but inwardly. Right now, in this very breath, your mind is attracting something into your life. Not later, not tomorrow, now. And the only gentle question is not whether it is attracting, but what it is attracting. There is no judgment in this, only awareness. Your mind is always working. Your thoughts are always creating. So let us begin by speaking to the mind first, the way we would speak to a dear child who is ready to learn something new. My mind is a magnet for good. My mind is a magnet for good. My mind is a magnet for good. I choose thoughts that support my life. I choose thoughts that support my life. I choose thoughts that support my life. I am safe to think differently now. I am safe to think differently now. I am safe to think differently now. My inner world is calm and aligned. My inner world is calm and aligned. My inner world is calm and aligned. What is right for me is drawn to me. What is right for me is drawn to me. What is right for me is drawn to me. As you hear these words, do not analyze them. Do not check if they are true yet. Simply let them pass through you. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breath deepen. Stay with the feeling for just a few seconds. 10 seconds is enough. The body understands before the mind agrees. This is how real change begins. Now notice something very important. When you hear these affirmations, your body responds, perhaps subtly, perhaps quietly. Attraction does not happen in the thinking mind alone. It happens in the feeling that the thought produces. That feeling is the magnetic field. Many people believe attraction is about repeating words, but words are only doorways. Feeling is the power. Feeling is the signal. A magnet does not work because it wants to attract metal. It works because of its inner polarity. And you, my love, are no different. Your emotional state is the polarity you are broadcasting. This is why I always say, what you think about yourself becomes true for you, not because the universe is judging you, but because the universe is responding faithfully. When your inner world is calm, life responds with opportunities that feel calm. When your inner world is fearful, life responds with situations that mirror that fear, not to punish you, but to show you what is asking to be healed. Attraction is not magic, it is honesty. So let us do something very gentle now, something surprisingly powerful. Do not try to change anything. Do not try to fix anything. Simply notice, right now, what thought has been taking up the most space in your mind lately? Is it a worry, a hope, a complaint, a judgment? Do not label it good or bad. Awareness is never unkind. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. The moment you notice a thought without trying to push it away, you have already shifted the magnet. Many people believe they must replace negative thoughts immediately. They rush to correct themselves. They scold themselves. And that, my dear, only creates more tension. You cannot heal a mind by attacking it. When you notice without fixing, you create space. And in that space, the mind relaxes. When the mind relaxes, it becomes receptive. And when it is receptive, new thoughts arrive naturally, without force. I have watched this happen again and again. Someone comes to me and says, "Louise, I've been thinking negatively my whole life." And I smile and say, "So? You noticed it today. That means today is different. The noticing is the miracle. The noticing is the shift. You do not change your life by fighting your thoughts. You change your life by choosing which thoughts you live with. Think of your mind as a garden. You do not pull out every weed in a single afternoon. You notice what is growing. You water what you want to thrive. And slowly, gently, the garden changes. The weeds disappear, not because you hate them, but because you stop feeding them. Whatever you give attention to grows. Whatever you withdraw attention from softens and fades. Now here is a truth I want you to hear clearly. Attraction does not respond to effort. It responds to alignment. When you are aligned inside, you do not need to chase anything. What is right for you feels drawn to you. Opportunities feel natural. People feel supportive. Even challenges feel manageable. This is not because life suddenly became perfect. It is because you stopped pulling against it. You may say, "But Louise, my life has problems." And I say, "Of course it does. We all have things to learn and release. But problems do not block attraction. Resistance does. The moment you soften toward yourself, the magnet changes direction. The moment you choose a kinder thought, even once, the field shifts. And life notices immediately. Let me tell you something I have seen so often. When people begin to speak kindly to their minds, when they say things like, "I am safe to think differently now," something deep relaxes. Because many of us were punished for thinking differently. We were told to be careful, to expect disappointment, to not get our hopes up. And so the mind learned fear as protection. When you tell your mind it is safe now, you are releasing an old contract. You are saying, "We don't have to live that way anymore." And when you say, "My inner world is calm and aligned," you are not pretending, you are inviting. Calm is not something you force. Calm is something you allow. Alignment is not perfection. Alignment is honesty. It is when your thoughts, feelings, and words stop arguing with each other. And when they agree, even gently, attraction becomes effortless. I want you to remember this. You are always attracting, but you are not trapped by what you have attracted so far. The moment you become conscious, choice returns. And choice is power. Not loud power, not controlling power, quiet power. The kind that comes from knowing you can pause, notice, and choose again. So today, do not try to think perfectly. Simply think kindly. Do not try to attract everything. Simply allow what feels right. Do not monitor every thought. Simply notice the ones that stay the longest. Those are the ones asking for love. And when you give them love, instead of resistance, they transform. Your mind is a magnet, yes, but it is also a friend. Treat it with respect. Speak to it gently. Guide it patiently. And as you do, life will begin to respond in ways that feel less like effort and more like grace. I'd try to make you understand that you do not attract what you want in life. You attract what you are most familiar with thinking. This is such a gentle truth, and yet it explains so much of what people experience. We often believe that desire alone is enough, that hoping, wishing, or dreaming will somehow override years of habit. But the universe does not respond to wishes. It responds to patterns. What you think most often becomes what you live with most naturally, and what you live with most naturally begins to feel normal. That sense of this is just how life is becomes the strongest signal you send. The mind loves what is familiar far more than what is joyful. So if struggle feels normal, struggle repeats. If worry feels normal, worry returns. Not because you deserve it, not because life is cruel, but because the nervous system seeks what it recognizes. Your thoughts are not just ideas, they are habits. A habit is something the body and mind can relax into without effort. When a thought repeats long enough, it becomes comfortable. And once something feels comfortable, the mind calls it normal. That normal then becomes the baseline your life keeps returning to. You may say, "But Louise, I want more." And I say, "Of course you do. Wanting is natural, but wanting does not change familiarity. Only new patterns do. The universe listens to what you live from, not what you long for from a distance." Now here is something very important to understand. What you call ordinary is actually magnetic. The conversations you repeat in your head, the emotional tone you wake up with, the expectations you carry quietly, these are the things that keep recreating themselves. Normal is powerful. Normal is persuasive. Normal is what the mind protects. That is why people often sabotage happiness without realizing it. Happiness feels unfamiliar. Ease feels suspicious. Calm feels boring to a nervous system trained in chaos. So, the mind gently steers you back to what it knows, even if what it knows hurts. If you truly want to change your life, you must be willing to change what you consider normal. That does not mean forcing positivity. It means noticing what you accept without question. Do you accept exhaustion as normal? Do you accept anxiety as normal? Do you accept disappointment as normal? If so, the mind will keep magnetizing experiences that match that baseline. The universe is not testing you. It is agreeing with you. It says yes to what you live inside. This brings us to another quiet truth. Repeated thoughts gain weight. A single thought is light. It passes through. But a thought you return to again and again becomes heavy. It develops gravity, and gravity pulls circumstances toward it. This is not mystical. It is neurological, emotional, energetic. Repetition strengthens pathways. Pathways become defaults. Defaults become destiny. When you think the same thing often enough, your body prepares for it. Your choices align with it. Your reactions reinforce it. And soon, your life reflects it. One thought does not create a life, but the same thought rehearsed daily does. That is where the power lies. And that power is not something to fear. It is something to use consciously. When you begin to notice what thoughts you repeat, you regain authorship. You stop being pulled unconsciously by gravity and begin to choose where you place your weight. You may notice that changing familiar thoughts feels uncomfortable at first. That is normal. Discomfort does not mean you are doing it wrong. It means you are stepping outside an old baseline. The mind will protest. It will say, "This isn't realistic." What it really means is, "This isn't familiar." Familiarity is not truth. It is habit, and habits can change. So I invite you to become curious rather than critical. Ask yourself gently, what thoughts do I think so often that they feel like facts? Those are the magnets. Those are the signals. And the moment you see them, without judgment, they begin to loosen. Awareness lightens gravity. Compassion softens repetition. And when you introduce even one new thought consistently, just one, the entire field begins to shift. Remember, my dear one, you do not need to think perfectly. You do not need to feel high all the time. You only need to be willing to make the unfamiliar safe. When ease starts to feel normal, life reflects ease. When peace starts to feel ordinary, peace multiplies. When kindness toward yourself becomes routine, the world mirrors that kindness back. You are not attracting because you want. You are attracting because you are practiced. And the beautiful news is this: you can practice something new. Let me say this in a softer, clearer way, without repeating old rhythms, so you can feel it rather than analyze it. Attraction does not begin with events. It never has. It begins with experience. Long before money shows up, before relationships form, before doors open or close, something else is already present inside you. A tone, a mood, a quiet expectation. You are not pulling numbers, people, or circumstances toward you. You are inviting a state to repeat itself. And life is remarkably obedient to states. If you live inside the feeling of being supported, life finds ways to support you. If you live inside the feeling of being braced, guarded, or alone, life mirrors that posture back to you. Experience is the blueprint. Events are the echo. This is where so many people feel confused. They focus on what they want to see, while life is responding to what they are already living inside. The inner experience sets the temperature. The outer world adjusts to match it. When ease becomes familiar, ease appears. When tension feels normal, tension organizes reality. Nothing is being tested. Nothing is being withheld. Life is simply reflecting what feels true to you at a deeper level than words. You do not attract money. You attract the sensation of being resourced. You do not attract love. You attract the experience of openness or guardedness. You do not attract peace. You attract the condition of safety or alertness inside your body. And once that experience stabilizes, the outer details fall into place almost quietly, sometimes so naturally that you barely notice the shift until you look back and realize how different things feel. Life follows the path of least internal resistance. Now let us move gently into the next layer, because this is where freedom truly begins. The issue is not the appearance of negative thoughts. Thoughts come and go like weather. The issue is what you accept as true. Belief is not loud. Belief is quiet. It sits underneath, unquestioned, shaping perception. A thought only becomes powerful when it is trusted. Once trusted, it becomes a rule, and rules run automatically. When a belief is operating, the body aligns with it instantly. Muscles tighten or relax. Breath shortens or deepens. Attention narrows or opens. From that physical response, behavior follows. From behavior, patterns form. From patterns, circumstances arise. All of this happens without effort. Belief does not argue. Belief organizes. You may notice that some thoughts feel heavier than others. That heaviness does not come from negativity itself. It comes from familiarity. A belief repeated over time settles into the nervous system. It stops feeling like a thought and starts feeling like reality. At that point, life appears to confirm it again and again, not because it is true, but because you are living from it. What is believed quietly becomes law. And here is the relief. You do not need to fight beliefs. You do not need to dismantle them aggressively. Beliefs lose authority the moment they are seen clearly. Seeing is enough. Seeing creates space. Space creates choice. Choice restores power. What is conscious no longer controls you. When you notice a belief without identifying with it, something shifts. The belief softens. It loosens its grip. It stops commanding the body. You are no longer living from it. You are observing it. That change alone alters the magnetic field. You are no longer broadcasting certainty about the old story. You are broadcasting openness. This is why gentleness matters so much in this work. Harsh correction reinforces the very tension you are trying to release. Soft awareness dissolves it. When you stop treating every thought as a verdict, your system relaxes. And a relaxed system is incredibly receptive. Safety accelerates change. Pressure slows it down. You do not have to replace every belief immediately. You only have to stop obeying the ones that hurt you. Each time you choose not to believe a fearful conclusion, its influence weakens. Each time you allow a kinder interpretation, a new internal rule begins to form. Over time, what once felt unfamiliar becomes ordinary, and what becomes ordinary becomes magnetic. So if you want to understand attraction at its root, look at what feels normal to you, not what you desire, not what you admire, what feels expected, what feels likely, what feels just the way things are. That is where the magnet is set. And the moment you begin to soften that baseline, life reorganizes itself without force. You are not broken. You are not blocked. You are not failing at manifestation. You are simply being faithful to an inner law you learned a long time ago. And laws can be updated, not through struggle, not through effort, but through awareness, repetition, and kindness. When the inner experience changes, the outer world follows. It always has. Have you ever noticed how a single complaint can seem so small in the moment, yet somehow linger in your day, coloring everything that comes after it? I want to begin right there with that quiet observation, because it opens a door to deep understanding. Complaining is not just something we say to release tension. Complaining is sustained attention, and sustained attention is power. When you complain, you are not merely describing what you dislike, you are holding it close, feeding it with awareness, giving it time and emotional space to grow. The universe does not hear the tone of, "I'm just venting." It only registers where your energy is resting. Attention held long enough becomes an invitation, and life, always responsive, accepts that invitation without judgment. A habit of complaining feels so exhausting over time. It keeps you mentally connected to the very experiences you say you want to move beyond. Even when the words sound casual, the body tightens. The breath shortens, the nervous system stays alert, and from that state, similar experiences are more easily recognized, more easily remembered, more easily repeated. Complaining is not wrong. It is understandable, but it is powerful, and power used unconsciously shapes life in ways we do not intend. When you complain, you rehearse the problem. When you rehearse the problem, it stays familiar. And what is familiar becomes magnetic. You may say, "But I complain to feel lighter," and I understand that impulse. We all want relief, yet relief does not come from retelling the story. Relief comes from releasing the grip. Complaining keeps the grip active. It keeps the story alive in the body. Where attention goes, energy flows. And energy flowing consistently in one direction creates momentum. This is not punishment. It is mechanics. Life responds to momentum far more than to intention. Now let us soften into something even more freeing. You do not need to fight your thoughts to change this pattern. You do not need to silence your mind or force positivity. In fact, trying to push thoughts away often strengthens them. Resistance gives thoughts weight. Opposition gives them importance. When you struggle against a thought, you are still holding it in focus. You are still feeding it with attention. What you resist, you keep close. Instead, there is another way, a gentler way, and it works because it does not create inner conflict. You allow the thought to pass without engaging it. You let it move through like a cloud across the sky. The sky does not chase clouds away. It does not argue with them. It simply remains open. And the cloud, having nothing to cling to, dissolves on its own. Thoughts are no different. When they are not fed, they lose gravity. When they lose gravity, they stop pulling experiences toward them. This is why you do not need to erase incorrect thinking. You only need to stop nourishing it. A thought that is not repeated does not become a belief. A belief that is not reinforced does not become a rule. A rule that is no longer followed quietly exits your life. What is not energized naturally fades. There is great relief in this understanding, because it means you do not have to be perfect. You only have to be less attached. Complaining is attachment. It is the mind returning again and again to the same place, hoping that repetition will somehow bring resolution. But repetition brings familiarity, not freedom. Freedom comes from space. Space comes from allowing. Allowing is not agreement. Allowing is neutrality. When you observe a thought without judging it or amplifying it, you remove its charge. And without charge, it cannot attract. Imagine how different life feels when you notice a complaint forming and simply pause, not to correct it, not to shame yourself, just to notice it. That pause is powerful. In that pause, you step out of automatic creation. You interrupt momentum, and in that interruption, choice reappears. You may choose to redirect your attention, or you may simply let the moment pass. Either way, you are no longer reinforcing the old signal. This is how attraction changes gently, without force. You stop rehearsing what you do not want. You stop energizing what you are ready to release. And slowly, your inner landscape becomes quieter. In that quiet, new experiences find room to enter. Not because you demanded them, but because there is finally space. I want you to understand this deeply. The universe is not reacting to your frustration or your sarcasm or your desire to get it off your chest. It is responding to where your awareness lingers. Awareness is creative. Awareness is directive. Awareness is magnetic. When you learn to guide your attention with kindness instead of criticism, you reclaim your creative power. So the next time you feel the urge to complain, try something new. Pause, breathe, notice the sensation in your body, and then let the thought move on without following it. You do not owe it your energy. You do not owe it your time. You are allowed to rest your attention elsewhere. This is not denial. This is discernment. Over time, you will notice something beautiful. The thoughts that once felt loud become quieter. The situations that once demanded reaction lose urgency. Life begins to feel less like a series of irritations and more like a flow you can navigate. This is not because life has changed dramatically. It is because you are no longer feeding the same patterns. Remember, my dear one, you are not here to manage every thought. You are here to choose where your energy lives. Complaining is a habit of attention. Allowing is a habit of freedom. And freedom always feels lighter. Let me speak to you very gently now, because this part touches something deep and personal. Attraction does not begin with what you want, and it does not end with what you do. It begins much earlier than that, in the quiet way you describe yourself to life. Long before a situation appears, long before an opportunity arrives or disappears, there is already a sentence living inside you. Sometimes it sounds like, I'm the kind of person things don't work out for. Sometimes it sounds like, nothing comes easily for me. Sometimes it is even softer than words, more like a feeling you've carried for years. And life listens to that feeling very closely. You see, the magnet of the mind does not pull according to hopes. It pulls according to identity. Not the identity you show the world, not the identity on your resume or in your smiles, but the identity you whisper to yourself when no one is listening. When you quietly agree with a thought like, I'm unlucky, You are not complaining. You are introducing yourself to the universe. And the universe, which never argues, simply responds, "All right, I know how to treat someone who believes that." This is why patterns repeat even when you try to change them. You may read new books, watch new videos, say new affirmations, yet life keeps bringing familiar experiences. It is not punishment. It is consistency. Life is being loyal to the image you hold of yourself. Attraction is loyal. It does not question your self-definition, it honors it. If you believe you are someone who must struggle, struggle becomes normal. If you believe you are someone who has to prove themselves, life provides endless exams. And none of this means you are doing something wrong. It only means your identity has been practiced for a long time. Familiar identities have gravity. They pull experiences toward them the way the earth pulls objects toward its surface. Not because it wants to hold you down, but because gravity is steady. What changes attraction is not fighting the old identity. Fighting only strengthens it. When you argue with yourself, you are still giving the old story attention, and attention is fuel. The magnet does not care whether the attention is positive or negative. It only notices repetition. This is why harsh self-correction rarely creates lasting change. You may force a new thought for a moment, but the body remembers the old role and returns to it like a well-worn path in a forest. So the invitation here is not to deny who you think you are. The invitation is to notice it, to become curious instead of critical, to gently hear yourself say, "This always happens to me," and pause. Not to correct it immediately, but to recognize it as a habit. Habits can be changed, identities can be softened, and nothing needs to be rushed. Now let us move into something even more important, because identity cannot shift until the mind feels safe. The mind's primary function is not to make you happy, it is to keep you alive. Before it allows any new belief, any new possibility, it asks a simple, ancient question. Is this dangerous? If the answer feels like yes, the mind closes. If the answer feels like no, the mind opens. When safety is absent, the nervous system tightens, thoughts repeat, fear feels louder, old identities cling harder. This is not failure, this is protection. The mind chooses the familiar over the unknown, even if the familiar is painful. Pain that is known feels safer than peace that is unfamiliar. And so many people stay in patterns not because they enjoy them, but because those patterns feel predictable. You cannot shame yourself into feeling safe. You cannot force your mind open. Safety does not arrive through pressure. It arrives through kindness, through softness, through allowing yourself to feel without being attacked from the inside. Gentleness is not weakness. It is permission. When you speak to yourself harshly, the mind hears danger. When you rush yourself, the body braces. When you tell yourself you must change now, the nervous system tightens its grip. But when you say, "It's okay to be where I am," something loosens, breath deepens, muscles relax. The mind begins to listen. This is the moment when attraction starts to shift, not because you demanded it, but because the inner environment finally allows something new to enter. Safety is the doorway. Without it, No affirmation can land. No visualization can root. No new identity can settle. But with safety, even a small thought can grow. Even a gentle idea can take hold. When the mind feels safe, it becomes curious instead of defensive. It becomes creative instead of repetitive. It becomes receptive instead of guarded. This is why love is so powerful in healing and attraction. Love tells the nervous system, you don't have to protect anymore. And when protection relaxes, identity becomes flexible. You may notice that in moments when you feel deeply accepted by a person, by nature, by yourself, life feels lighter, possibilities feel closer, solutions appear without strain. That is not coincidence. That is safety opening the channel. You do not change identity by declaring war on it. You change identity by creating an inner space where a new one feels welcome. You let the old labels rest. You stop rehearsing them. You stop proving them. And slowly, something else begins to feel normal. Ease stops feeling suspicious. Support stops feeling undeserved. Joy stops feeling temporary. And when that happens, attraction follows naturally. Not because you tried harder, but because life now recognizes you as someone who can receive, someone who feels safe enough to have more, someone who is no longer bracing for loss. Let me say this clearly, my dear, because it matters. You are not attracting wrongly. You are attracting honestly, and honesty can change the moment you choose safety over self-attack, softness over struggle, permission over pressure. You are not here to be punished by your identity. You are here to outgrow it gently. When you feel safe enough to see yourself differently, life has no choice but to respond differently. That is not magic. That is cooperation. That is how the magnet truly works. Let us continue softly, because this is where everything begins to settle into the body, not the head. So many people believe change starts with thinking differently. But over the years, I've watched something much more gentle and much more truthful unfold. The body always goes first, long before a new belief can stay, long before a new story can feel real. The body must feel it is allowed to relax. When the body is tense, the mind becomes narrow. It looks for danger. It searches for problems. It prepares for defense. But when the body softens, the mind opens like a window. Possibility enters without effort. This is not philosophy. This is how you are built. Think for a moment about the days when your shoulders are tight, your jaw clenched, your breath shallow. On those days, everything feels heavier. Decisions feel harder. Other people seem more difficult. Even hopeful thoughts sound unrealistic. That is not because life suddenly changed. It is because your body is signaling threat, and the mind responds by shrinking its field of vision. A contracted body creates a contracted reality, and again, nothing has gone wrong. The body is simply doing what it learned to do to protect you. Now notice the opposite. Remember a moment when you felt safe, maybe lying in bed, walking slowly, sitting somewhere peaceful. The breath deepened on its own. The muscles loosened without instruction. In those moments, ideas flowed more easily. You felt more generous with yourself. The future didn't feel so frightening. That is the magnet shifting. The body sets the tone. and the mind follows the invitation. This is why trying to think positive while your body is tight rarely works. You are asking the mind to expand while the body is bracing. The nervous system hears mixed signals, and the body always wins. If the body feels unsafe, the mind cannot believe in ease. This is not resistance. This is wisdom. The body does not accept ideas it cannot survive inside of. So when I say, adjust the body and you adjust the magnet, I mean something very kind. You do not need to convince yourself of anything. You do not need to debate with your thoughts. You begin by letting your body know it is safe enough to soften a slower breath, a relaxed jaw, feet on the floor, a hand on the heart. These are not small gestures. They are instructions to the nervous system. They say, we are not in danger right now. And the moment the body believes that, the mind begins to reorganize itself. You may notice that after a few deep breaths, certain worries lose their grip. They do not disappear dramatically. They simply lose urgency. And that is enough. Attraction does not require excitement. It requires openness. An open body creates an open field. And in an open field, new experiences can land. This brings us to integration, which is one of my favorite words. Integration means you stop trying to fix yourself. You stop dividing your experience into right and wrong, good thoughts and bad thoughts. You stop monitoring every sentence in your mind. Instead, you become friendlier with what arises. And friendliness is powerful. What is met with kindness begins to soften on its own. So many people exhaust themselves trying to correct every thought. They hear something negative and immediately push it away, but pushing is still effort. Pushing still creates tension, and tension tells the body something is wrong. Integration works differently. Integration says, I see you. It allows the thought to pass without building a home around it. Thoughts that are not fed naturally dissolve. They do not need to be chased out. When you stop fighting your mind, the mind stops fighting you. This is not giving up. This is cooperation. And cooperation creates alignment. Alignment creates coherence. And coherence is what attraction responds to. Not force, not struggle, not perfection, just inner agreement. Being kind to your thoughts does not mean believing everything you think. It means you no longer treat your inner world like an enemy territory. You become a gentle observer. You notice patterns without judgment. You allow sensations without panic. You respond instead of react. And slowly, the system recalibrates itself. You may be surprised how quickly things change when you stop correcting yourself harshly. The inner noise quiets, the body settles, the mind begins to choose thoughts that feel better without being commanded. This is what it means to think right without trying. The right thoughts emerge naturally from a regulated body and a compassionate inner relationship. Attraction loves coherence. When your body, mind, and emotions are no longer arguing with each other, life feels clearer. Opportunities feel more natural. Support feels less suspicious. You stop needing proof before you relax. You relax first, and proof follows. This is not magic. This is synchronization. Let me say this in the simplest way. Kindness creates alignment. Alignment creates flow. Flow creates attraction. And none of this requires effort. It requires permission. So if you feel tired of working on yourself, that may be wisdom speaking. If you feel weary of fixing, correcting, improving, maybe it is time to rest into friendliness. Let your body lead you back to safety. Let safety lead you back to openness. Let openness invite new experiences without pressure. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to become more at ease with who you already are. When ease enters the body, the magnet adjusts itself, and life, always listening, responds accordingly. I want to share something very personal with you now, something I did not understand in the early years of my own healing. For a long time, I thought trust meant waiting for things to get better, waiting for life to prove itself to me, waiting for safety, love, or certainty to arrive first. And quietly, without realizing it, I was putting my life on hold. What I learned gently, slowly, through many experiences, is that trust is not something you do after life feels safe. Trust is something you step into, even when life still feels unclear. And the moment you do, everything begins to soften. Trust is not hope dressed up in spiritual language. Hope says, maybe things will work out. Hope looks forward and leans on the future. Trust lives right here. Trust says, even now, something is holding me. It does not need explanations. It does not need guarantees. It is a quiet inner agreement with life that says, I am not against you and you are not against me. When that agreement is present, the nervous system settles. The breath deepens. The heart opens just a little more. And that small opening changes everything. I have noticed that the moment trust is missing, control rushes in. Control tries to manage every outcome, every detail, every possible risk. It believes it is protecting you, but what it really communicates is fear. When you grip life tightly, life hears the message, I am not safe. And life, always responding, brings more situations that reflect that inner tension, not as punishment, but as feedback. Control does not create certainty. It creates exhaustion. Trust, on the other hand, is not giving up responsibility. It is not passivity. It is not saying, I'll do nothing and hope for the best. Trust is very active, but it is active from peace instead of panic. You still take steps. You still make choices. You still show up, but you do it without the inner strain of needing to force results. You do your part, and you allow life to do its part. That partnership is where grace lives. One of the most tender truths I've learned is this: you can only attract what you feel safe enough to receive. If deep inside you do not believe something good can last, you will unconsciously push it away. If you do not trust that love can stay, you may find reasons to close your heart. If abundance feels dangerous or unfamiliar, you may block it without knowing why. This is not self-sabotage. This is protection. The system is simply trying to keep you within what feels survivable. Trust opens the door because trust creates safety. And safety is the language the subconscious understands best. When you trust, you stop scanning for danger. You stop bracing for disappointment. You stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. In that softened state, receiving becomes natural. You are no longer defending yourself against life. You are meeting it. Many people believe they need proof before they can trust. They want signs, guarantees, confirmations. But life works in the opposite direction. Trust always comes first. Evidence follows. The moment you require proof before you relax, you are telling life you are not yet open. Trust is not blind belief. It is willingness. Willingness to stand in uncertainty without collapsing. Willingness to say, I don't know how this will unfold, but I know I am not alone in it. And here is something that changed my understanding forever. Trust does not begin in the mind. It begins in the body. A tense body cannot trust. A body that is braced, holding its breath, tightening its muscles, is sending a constant signal of threat. In that state, no affirmation will land. No belief will feel real. But when the body relaxes even slightly, trust emerges on its own. It does not need to be forced. It arises naturally, like warmth when you step into the sun. That is why simple practices matter so much. Slowing your breath, softening your shoulders, placing a hand on your heart. These are not small things. They are instructions to your nervous system that say, you are safe right now. And when the body feels safe, trust follows, like a quiet sigh of relief. You don't have to convince yourself. You simply notice it is there. When trust becomes your inner state, something beautiful happens. Life begins to feel cooperative, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer fighting what is. You stop carrying the weight of the whole world on your shoulders. You focus on your own alignment, your own inner balance, your own well-being. And from that place, life seems to meet you halfway. Opportunities arrive without struggle. Support shows up unexpectedly. Timing feels kinder. Some people call this selfish. I call it positive self-honoring. You are not responsible for fixing everything. You are responsible for your own state. When you choose peace within yourself, you contribute more to the world than you ever could through worry. Life does not need you anxious. It needs you present. Trust does not shout. It whispers. It does not demand. It allows. It does not rush. It waits patiently while you remember that you are held by something larger than your fears. And every time you choose trust, even in the smallest way, you teach your system a new truth. I can rest. I can receive. I can let life support me. So if you are listening to this and thinking, I want to trust, but I don't know how, let me reassure you, you don't have to figure it out. You only have to begin where you are. Start with your body. Start with kindness. Start with one gentle thought. It is safe for me to soften right now. Trust will meet you there. And as trust grows, life responds. Not because you demanded it, but because you finally made space for it. Let us move into this practice together gently, as if we are slowing the whole world down for a few minutes. Nothing is required of you right now. You do not need to understand anything, fix anything, or reach any special state. All you are doing is giving yourself permission to arrive where you already are. This practice is not about doing it right. It is about letting your system remember something it once knew very well, that it is safe to soften. Begin by allowing your body to settle. You may be sitting, lying down, or simply pausing wherever you are. Place one hand on your chest, right over your heart, and let the other hand rest wherever it feels comfortable. Notice the warmth of your palm, the gentle pressure, the simple fact that you are here. Now breathe slowly. Inhale for 4 counts, feeling the breath enter your body. Hold gently for 2 counts without strain. Then exhale for 6 counts, allowing the breath to leave you completely. With each exhale, imagine the body releasing just a little bit more effort. You might silently say to yourself, right now, I am safe. Not as an affirmation you must believe, but as a suggestion the body can try on. Again, inhale slowly, hold briefly, and exhale longer than you inhaled. Longer exhales tell the nervous system there is no emergency. With every breath out, let the shoulders drop. Let the jaw unclench. Let the belly soften. You are not preparing for anything. You are simply resting in this moment. As the body begins to settle, we move gently into awareness. This is not the part where you analyze or correct. This is the part where you listen. Ask yourself quietly, almost curiously, what is it in me that doesn't trust right now? You are not looking for a perfect answer. You are not interrogating yourself. You are simply opening the door. Maybe a word comes up, maybe an image, maybe a sensation in the body, maybe nothing at all. Whatever arises is welcome. Even if you notice fear, doubt, or resistance, let it be seen without judgment. Awareness alone is powerful. The moment something is acknowledged, it no longer has to shout to be heard. You are not here to fix fear. You are here to notice it with kindness. That is enough. Now, without pushing anything away, begin to shift your inner tone. Imagine you are speaking to a small child who is worried. Your voice would naturally slow, your words would soften. You would not demand answers. You would offer reassurance. In that same tone, say silently or out loud, I don't need to know all the answers. Let that sentence land in the body. Notice if anything relaxes when you say it. Then gently continue. I allow life to support me. You are not insisting, you are allowing. Finally, say, I am being guided, even if I can't see the whole path yet. Stay with these words for a few breaths. Let them sink below the surface of thought and into sensation. Often you will notice a softening, a small release, a sense of space opening somewhere inside. That is trust beginning to take shape. Now imagine something very simple. Imagine you have been carrying a heavy load, perhaps a backpack, a box, or a bundle in your arms. You don't need to know what's inside it. You only need to know it has been heavy in your mind. Picture yourself gently placing that load down on the ground. You are not throwing it away. You are not abandoning responsibility. You are simply setting it down for now. Say quietly, "I have done enough for today." Let those words be true in this moment. Then add, "I trust life to handle the rest." Notice how the body responds to this idea. Even if part of you resists, allow another part to rest. Take another slow breath. Feel the support beneath you, the chair, the floor, the ground. Support is already present. You do not have to create it. You only have to notice it. This is what trust feels like at its most basic level. It is not excitement. It is not certainty. It is a quiet sense of being held. You can return to this state again and again throughout your day. Anytime you notice worry rising, pause for a moment. Place a hand on your chest. Take one long breath and say softly, "I trust this moment." You are teaching your nervous system a new association. You are showing it that trust is not dangerous. With repetition, the body learns. And when the body learns safety, the mind follows. Now let us bring in a few gentle affirmations. These are not meant to overpower your thoughts. They are meant to accompany you. Say them slowly, leaving space between each one. I trust the process of my life. Let the words flow through you. I am supported, even when I don't see how. Notice how that feels. Life is working with me, not against me. Allow that idea to soften the chest. I allow things to unfold naturally. And finally, it is safe for me to let go and trust. You do not need to force belief. Simply allow the words to pass through you like a gentle breeze. As you continue to practice this, you may notice something subtle but powerful. When trust is present, even briefly, the mind shifts into an open state. It stops scanning for threats. It stops bracing for disappointment. In this open state, attraction works differently. The mind becomes receptive rather than defensive. The magnet changes polarity. Instead of pulling in what you fear, it begins to draw in what matches openness, ease, and allowance. This is how trust connects directly to the idea that your mind is a magnet. A tense, fearful mind attracts confirmation of fear. An open, trusting mind attracts experiences that reinforce safety and support. Not because you demanded them, but because you became available to them. Trust does not chase. Trust receives. You may not notice dramatic changes immediately. That is not the goal. The goal is consistency. Each time you pause, breathe, and choose trust, you are laying down a new pathway in the nervous system. Over time, that pathway becomes familiar, and what is familiar becomes your new normal. Attraction follows normality. Life reflects what feels natural to you. So return to this practice whenever you need it. 5 minutes, 1 minute, 1 breath. It all counts. You are not training yourself to ignore reality. You are training yourself to meet reality from a place of safety. And from safety, everything unfolds more gently. Trust is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is something you return to, moment by moment. and each return strengthens the signal you send to life. When you trust, the mind opens. When the mind opens, the magnet aligns. And when the magnet aligns, life begins to respond, not to your fears, but to your readiness. Stay with that knowing it is enough. Let us end this time together very gently, without trying to wrap everything up or turn it into a rule you must remember. What I want you to take with you is not a technique, not a list, not even a perfect thought. It is a feeling, the feeling of being a little more at home inside yourself than you were before. Because when you think right with yourself, life does not need to be forced to respond. It responds naturally, like an echo that cannot help but return the sound you offer it. Thinking right does not mean thinking positively all the time. It means thinking kindly. It means noticing what is happening inside you and meeting it with understanding instead of judgment. When you do that, the inner noise softens, the body relaxes, the mind becomes clearer, and from that clarity, your natural magnetism begins to work for you instead of against you. You may find that when you stop arguing with your thoughts, they begin to change on their own. When you stop pushing yourself to be different, you start to feel safe enough to grow. When you stop demanding answers from life, life begins to offer them in quiet, unexpected ways. This is not something you make happen. This is something you allow. Remember, your mind is always attracting, not from effort, not from force, but from the state you live in most often. When that state is gentle, life feels gentler. When that state is trusting, life feels more supportive. When that state is calm, solutions seem to arrive without struggle. This is how cooperation works between you and life. If nothing else stays with you today, let this remain. You do not need to fix yourself to be supported. You only need to be a little more present, a little more compassionate, a little more willing to let life meet you where you are. Each time you choose a thought that feels more truthful to your heart, you shift the signal you send, and life, always listening, responds. So go forward with less effort and more kindness. Let your thoughts be a place you feel safe to live in. Let your inner world become a space of cooperation rather than control. And trust that as you do, the outer world will reflect that same kindness back to you in ways you do not need to predict. If these words resonated with you, I invite you to stay connected. Share your intention by commenting, "My mind attracts what supports me." Let it be a quiet promise to yourself, a gentle reminder of the relationship you are building with your own mind. And remember, my dear, life is always responding to you. When you think right with yourself, life cannot help but respond in love.